Hi, everyone. We are joined by Josh Taylor, former undisputed super lightweight champion, getting ready to get back into the ring April 27 against his now arch rival, Jack Catterall. It'll be a much anticipated rematch. The two fought to a very highly spirited decision, a very close decision a couple years ago, and now they're going to be settling the score once and for all on April 27. Josh, I know you've had a chance to not only spend 12 rounds in the ring with Catterall, but also back-to-back days with these press conferences, very heated exchanges, some unpleasantries were exchanged. How have you been processing the last couple of days as you prepare for this fight now?
Yeah, I've just been having fun, pal. I've just been enjoying myself and enjoying the ride and enjoying winding him up. You know, he's not the smartest fella in the world, so it's quite easy to wind him up and play with him for a little while and have a little bit of fun. So yeah, I've just been enjoying myself for the last couple of days, and yeah, it's all good. It's been good fun.
Mm-hmm. Let's kind of reset things real quick. 2021, you decisively beat Jose Ramirez, become the undisputed super lightweight king, the 140-pound crown holder, controlling all the belts. And then you have the mandatory with Catterall. It wasn't as decisive of a win as you wanted, perhaps, but you won the split decision. And then we saw what happened with you vacating the belts and not kind of going with what the sanctioning bodies wanted you to do with your career. But you fought Teofimo Lopez, perhaps the hardest test and challenge that you could have taken at the time. Didn't go your way that night. With that fight, why did you decide to go with Teofimo at the time rather than the immediate rematch with Jack?
Well, I did make the immediate rematch. We did make it pretty much straight away, which is why I let the other belts go. Like you said, the mandatories come in, and they weren't fights that interested me. The only fight that interested me was the fight with Jack, the rematch with Jack. We were about 5 days from announcing the fight, and I got the injury, and then it all fell away by the wayside. You know, so it was like Jack then took another fight, which then ended up falling through, and then the mandatory then come in because I had a rescheduled date for the fight. So the WBO were right, okay, your mandatory is now Teofimo Lopez. We want you to fight Teofimo or lose your belt. So it was like, it's the only belt that I had left, and I've always fancied fighting Teofimo and always fancied that I would beat him, and always wanted to fight in New York, Madison Square Gardens as well. So that was another dream ticked off in the bucket list, fighting in Madison Square Garden against another top fighter for a world title. It obviously never went my way, but you know, it's still a good experience in my life and in my journey and my career, and that's a fight that, you know, I would like to do again in the future at some point. And because I believe the best of me beats Teofimo Lopez, I've been in with better fighters. I've been in with guys that are cleverer than him. I've been with guys that are definitely whack harder than him as well. So yeah, I feel that me firing on all cylinders, you know, I beat the guy. So yeah, but I never got the decision at the time, and the plan was to fight the mandatory, win that fight against Teo, and then come back and do the rematch with Jack. With the belt.
You know, we've seen Teofimo look vulnerable in some of his fights, even most recently with Jermaine Ortiz, Sander Martin, of course, the loss to Kambosos. Looking back at that fight you had with Teofimo, is there something you wish you did differently to have a more favorable result in your favor?
No, really. You know, I thought, you know, the first 3 rounds were going my way, and then the old legs went. But that is it. That's just what happened in the fight. My legs went after 3 rounds, and I was tired. I then got a second wind and won another couple of rounds. I think I won the 8th and then the 10th. And then I thought, right, okay, if I get the last 2 rounds, I get a draw or a win the fight here. But I lost the last 2. So, nah, it was just he was better than me on the night, and that's it. The better man won. So no excuses.
And you know, you still could have fought anyone you wanted to in this kind of comeback fight for yourself. You've been talking about for years moving up to 147 pounds. You could have fought perhaps more desirable opponent, but you took the rematch with Catterall. Why was it important for you to close this chapter once and for all with Catterall?
Just to close the negativity and that cloud that's hanging over me of doubt, to shut it down, put it to bed, and move on. You know, that's basically what it is. You know, it's like I'm getting asked every day, when's a rematch, when's a fight, you know, so over this side of the pond, it's a huge fight in the UK. So yeah, I'm that's where I am at, and I'm motivated for this fight, and I don't particularly like the guy. So I am just motivated to shut this guy's mouth and put him back under his rock and move on with my career.
Mm-hmm. How do you see the rematch envisioning now that you've gotten a taste of, like we mentioned, those 12 rounds? Do you want to go for the knockout? Do you want to go for a different game plan? What is the approach that you're taking in this fight?
Just a win, you know, just a Josh Taylor win. Whether it comes by knockout or stoppage, it doesn't really matter. If he comes to engage a little bit more, then I can't see nothing else but a win for myself. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. You talk about positioning yourself for a potential Teofimo Lopez rematch down the line. Curious to get your thoughts on his performance against Jermaine Ortiz earlier this month.
I haven't seen the fight, so it's sort of, well, it's hard for me to make a judgment on it. I haven't seen the fight. I've seen some highlights and stuff. It didn't look great. I've heard all sorts of different reviews, like that he was Jermaine Ortiz was robbed, and I've heard people saying that, well, Teofimo was holding the center of the ring and the one engaging and stuff. So I'll need to watch it and make my own assumptions on it. But I've not saw the fight yet.
Mm-hmm. You know, at the age of 33, we've talked about you kind of wanting to move up to 147 pounds for several years now. It's almost been a matter of when and not if, but you know, surprisingly, you're still in the division. Curious to know, what is the future for you as far as weight classes go, and where do you see yourself fighting after this fight?
Listen, we'll take it as it comes. I know I can make 140. I've said it for years that I'm a career 140 pounder. I could do my whole career at 140, but we'll take it as it comes. And you know, I've been talking about moving up to welterweight to become a two-weight world champion. You know, I've achieved all I can at the sport, in the sport, at the weight class. I've won every belt. So in terms of motivation and achievements and setting new goals and targets, it was to move up to welter and make a campaign at 147 and hopefully become a two-weight world champion, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, sounds like you're still all in at 140 pounds. So I have to ask you, potential fights that could be in the future for you. We have two big ones coming up. Let's first start off with Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney. I know Devin Haney has been discussed as an opponent for you, as a desirable opponent for you once he got to your weight class. How do you see that fight unfolding with Ryan and Devin?
Yeah, it's a great fight with two great fighters. You know, it's a great matchup. I think that Ryan Garcia's speed is good. You know, he's got good speed and he's good with his left hook and things like that. But in terms of his boxing abilities and his ring generalship, I think that's on Devin Haney's side. I think he's the much more complete fighter, the much more well-rounded fighter. So I would say on the boxing brains and the side of things and the skills, I would say it's on Devin Haney's side. You know, and I've seen a couple of things from Ryan Garcia. I don't really know if he's got the heart. Just think that, you know, he's probably likely that he can quit. You know, I think he quit against Gervonta Davis. I think he swallowed it and took the knee and decided not to get up. You know, I think he quit there.
Mm-hmm. You know, quickly on Gervonta Davis, he's talked about wanting to fight overseas in the UK again. I know he had a great coming out party a few years ago, but would you want to entertain a fight with Gervonta Davis?
Listen, you never say never in this fight game. You know, it's like if it makes business sense and it's a big fight and he wants to come up to 140, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We were talking about it a few years back about the two of us potentially fighting down the line. So yeah, absolutely. You never say never in this fight game. So anything can happen. There was talk just not too long ago of Gervonta moving up to fight Conor Benn. So that's what 4 divisions, like jump. So he's sort of like a blown up featherweight, but yeah, he's fighting at lightweight just now. But if he wants to come back up to light welter, then yeah.
Another pool of potential opponents for you that both lost to Gervonta Davis, Rolando Romero versus Pitbull Cruz, coming up on March 30. Curious to know what your thoughts are on that fight and how do you see that one going?
I don't really know. I've not saw Cruz fighting an awful lot, and I don't think Rolly Romero is the greatest of boxers. He looks like he obviously carries a bit of pop, a bit of power, but it's one that I'll watch and I'll see what it's like. But it's no 2 guys that I've really sort of kept my eye on, really, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Now, going back to you in your career, you were at the top 10 pound for pound list universally for a lot of the respected lists out there. Unfortunately, you've dropped down. A lot of people are wondering at this stage of your career, what if perhaps we've seen the best days already. What are you looking to prove to yourself and to the fans as well?
Listen, you look throughout history, people are quick to judge these days. Look through history of fighters, of the great fighters. They've all had losses and bad performances on their records. You look throughout history. They've all had a few losses or a couple of bad performances, but they come back and they win titles again, and they're still great fighters. Just because you've got a couple of losses and a couple of bad performances, it doesn't mean you're finished. So that's another little sort of bone to pick with people, or a little bit of grit in my teeth to prove again that I'm still here. I'm still one of the top dogs.
Mm-hmm. And going back to Catterall, in that fight specifically, when you look back at it, are there certain things that you look back and say, I didn't do that right, wish I would have changed that? Kind of just how that fight unfolded. When you look back at your performance, how would you assess it?
Terrible. 2 out of 10. It was, and that's been generous. It was crap. So that, like, I need to improve on everything on that fight. I was just terrible, and that was just down to my own fault. So yeah, that Josh Taylor will never show up again for as long as I box.
Mm-hmm. So if that was the worst version of Josh Taylor, what does the best version of you look like on April 27th?
Absolutely destroys Jack Catterall in every single department.